The following is a presentation of the Six Arrows Radio Network.
Ham Radio 360 podcast. We're going to talk about and learn about Winlink, RMS Express, Winmor, and more coming up.
MTCRadio.com presents Ham Radio 360, the podcast. Brought to you by Elecraft. Now, here's your host, Cale Nelson, K4CDN.
So pardon the dust. I've been on the lawnmower for the last few hours, and it's really not that bad, honestly. I've got a great mower. I'm really excited, still excited to have that because I got a lot of grass, and the new zero turn really helps knock that out. Although my wife tells me I need to give that responsibility to my 13-year-old son. I know I do, really. I know I do. But it's my podcast listening time. I don't know when else I'm going to catch up with all the podcasts I enjoy listening to, but you may be on the mower right now, maybe the treadmill, could be driving back and forth to work, or even standing at the sink washing dishes. Appreciate your time. You didn't have to turn this one on, but I'm glad you did because I've got a great show for you. As Christine said in the intro, my name is Cale, and I've been podcasting here at the Ham Radio 360 show for about 3 years now. Totally stoked to have you here. Whether this is your 76th time being with us or maybe your first, we always have a good time here. We don't take ourselves too serious. We like to have fun. We like to learn along with you as we progress in this just crazy, huge, big, fun hobby of amateur radio. I'm just coming back off of episode 75. I cannot tell you how much great interaction I had with you. Oh, man, it was just email after tweet after Facebook message after post. Everybody was excited about 75. And although we celebrated losing Harold, man, how cool was it to be able to put some new gear into a brand new ham's hands, man. I'm telling you, it was just amazing to hear how many people were excited about that. And I know Josh is still just as tickled as he could be. I actually had some people call in they gave in some funds for potentially doing that again. So we've started a little savings account over here. If you're interested in doing that, let me know, and we'll gift another new ham here really soon. Hey, speaking of gifting hams, one of the people who were involved with that was our friends down at Main Trading Company, mtcradio.com. So gracious to help us along with that. And if you're looking for some gear, man, whether it's new or used, maybe you've got something to trade, Richard likes to call himself the king of trades. Matter of fact, I saw just the other day he traded for a sailboat. I don't know what someone in Texas needs with a sailboat, but Richard traded for one. So if you've got something laying around, but you've got your eye on some of those new ICOM rigs, give him a call. Call Richard Lenore down at mtcradio.com. He will make the connection. The king of trades, man, see what he's got for you. You never, ever know. You never know. So give him a call. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Hey, got to tell you, too, the Elecraft KX2 is here. I'm having some fun with it. It's not like I'm out there every day, okay? But I am learning how to operate it. I'm reading the manual. I'm following some cool things happening online with it as well. So be on the lookout for some Cale adventures with the Elecraft KX2. Really tickled to have that here in the shack. A friend of mine and I have been talking for about the last year about Winmor, Winlink, RMS Express. He's helped me get that running to some extent here in the shack, but I've had some questions, and I've had a lot of questions from local guys and guys all over the world wanting to know more about Winlink, Winmor, and RMS Express. So Brett and I decided to sit down and have this conversation. Hope you enjoy it, and we're going to get to that right now. Yeah, so Brett, it's great to have you, man. Thank you for coming by the Ham Radio 360 podcast.
Hey, brother, it's great to talk to you again, and I think we need to make this a little more often than just our side-to-side conversations we have from time to time.
Yeah, and guys, Brett's been with us a very long time. I don't know whereabout you came in, but it was really early in the Photime days. I get a lot of feedback, good and bad. It's like 50-50 for changing the name. Did changing the name affect the show for you at all, Brett, or was it okay? Or you been okay with a name change?
Oh, I've been completely okay with a name change because I just, think and see the direction that you're going with this. But, the one thing I'll say just overall about ham radio, that there are, everybody says there's, 6 degrees of separation. And what, I sent you an email and I said, hey, do you know this guy? And you're like, yeah, I do. And so it's weird because with ham radio, it's such a small community. And so you suddenly realize that you're just kind of a part of a really big ham club across the nation or in reality, just kind of around the world.
Yeah, it is like that. And the community is it's amazing, and it's amazingly expansive. And like everything else, we have the really great guys that you love hanging around with. And then, there's the other guys. And we're not going to talk about them because we're a positive focused show here. But you're one of the great guys. You're not a good guy. You're one of the great guys. And you've been such a great source of inspiration and support here for the program for so long. I want to just publicly thank you for that. And, come back and say, welcome into the show finally. I didn't have to twist any arms. All I really had to do was ask, hey, can we have you come on? So I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you again for being with us.
Hey, that's not a problem at all. Anytime I can contribute and help out, I've had a lot of people come along my side during my somewhat short journey into ham radio. I haven't really when you look at how long I've been licensed as compared to other folks, I haven't been licensed that long, but I've had some very influential people come along and just assist me. So any way I can give back, that's, I just kind of count that as, paying it forward.
Well, we appreciate that. And through the magic of the internet, we're actually connecting right now. I am on the hotspot in my telephone. Through my telephone, and Brett is on a hotspot in his house. So neither of us have a real internet connection at our house. So this is like some extreme podcast Skype recording here. So guys, if we have any latency or if it sounds goofy sometimes, we'll do our best to make up for that. But we are both way out in the sticks, and quite frankly, we love it. Do we not?
Oh, we do. And, the beauty of that is when you're talking about radio, that makes things extremely quiet because you don't have neighbors generating unnecessary RFI.
Yeah. And the greatest thing, I can't even see my neighbors. One doesn't even live in his house anymore. So it's just completely empty all the time. And, man, I love country living. The lack of internet is not fun, but it's okay. But we're not here to talk about the internet or country living. Actually, we're kind of talking about the internet and kind of talking about country living because it's a great thing to use. But we really want to talk about Winlink and that type of communications with our radios and our computers, which is something that people have been asking me for over a year and a half now. And most recently, on our local 2-meter repeater, I was talking with one of my friends, K4SPA, Wayne, and he said, man, when are you going to do a show about Winlink? And that very afternoon I came on and I said, Brett, is this something you'd like to talk about? And you have some experience with us, and we're hoping you're going to share that with us this time through.
Oh, I will try to chime in where I can. There are so many various aspects of this hobby. Some people get in to, bounce a signal off the surface of the moon to someone else on the outside of the world. Some people just are content with grabbing their HT and talking through the repeater. And quite frankly, even though I'm talking with you now, I'm not a guy that'll necessarily get on and do a rag chew. I tend to kind of lurk around the digital side of the bands, and with that, just looking at the digital side and more specifically just the capability of sending an email from my radio via my computer to practically anyone in the world, it just kind of lit a spark. And that's between the digital side and the Winlink side, that tends to be where I spend most of the time when I do have the opportunity to fire up the radio.
Yeah. Brett's a busy guy like me, and he gets on the radio more than Cale does, and that's a good thing because he's the smart guest on the show this time. What exactly is Winlink that we're going to be talking about?
Okay, Winlink is really it's a worldwide system for sending email via radio, and you can really send it from practically anywhere in the world. It was originally set up with the intent of emergency communications, which is more of where I fall into line, and it's used more for maritime individuals. If you look at the statistics that winlink.org publishes, but it's really just a way to communicate without your normal infrastructure of having a radio with a DSL or cable modem. You can just send email directly from your radio via your computer to any other operator or individual in the world.
Is Winlink some type of subscription service? Is it a program you have to buy, or is it something that's just kind of what we used to call it freeware back in the day, shareware? Is it something like that, or is it something we have to buy and install on our PCs?
Well, it is a free download, and you can just go to winlink.com, and from there, their suggested version of that is what's called RMS Express. It's free on their website, although they have a suggested donation to help support the ongoing development of the software. But really what it is you have radio operators around the world that just on their own dime set up their own stations to receive this email traffic that you can pass to it. So, and by you passing your traffic from your radio to their particular stations, from there's multiple options. You have more the what they call conventional system, where when you send your email and it hits their station, it'll then it'll put it into the internet. So you could send it to somebody, for instance, somebody who still has an AOL.com account. You could send, to your, most likely your mother-in-law who still subscribes to AOL. And you can send an email just directly from your computer and via your radio to your mother-in-law. But then beyond that, it really branches out into three different perspectives. You have just the conventional, like I was saying, where you could send it from your station to a particular radio station where they'll put it in the internet. But then you can also have what's referred to as what they call a mesh network. And that is, and this is where the emergency communications aspect of it comes in, that they have a mesh network. So you can set up to say that you're going to send this message, but it's going to be by radio only. So what these individual Winlink stations will do is they will send your message via radio to another radio, to another radio till it gets to the destination. And then the third aspect of this is peer-to-peer. So I can fire up my radio and I can put in your call sign, and assuming we're on the same frequency, I can send a message directly from my radio to your radio.
And you can do that. Well, let me hold that question and hope I can remember it, because I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So we've got we got three definitive uses for it. Matter of fact, my mother-in-law does actually have an AOL email address.
I knew it.
Yes, you did. Okay, so she didn't have internet. She doesn't have the internet at her house anymore either, since they cut their dial-up off years ago. But anyway, Winlink, the first three letters, WIN. This is where a lot of hams, especially, I don't say especially, but this is where a lot of hams get hung up with Winlink, because it was a program designed and continually used for Windows, not Linux, not Mac. Are there workarounds? Are there ways that a Linux user can use Winlink? Are there ways that an iOS operator can use Winlink?
With iOS, honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
Because I don't run iOS. I do run Linux, Mint 18, and using Wine, I can still use Winlink.
Okay. Is that something you do a lot, or is it something that you do when you have to?
Actually, with my standalone radio or my laptop that I use just for primary radio use, it is a Linux Mint, and so yes, I successfully use that.
Okay. I'll ask, I know that George, he has a really banging MacBook that he has Windows installed on. I don't know how that happened, but I'll find out the answer, guys, about iOS. And if you want to, of course, we always refer you back to our show notes at hamradio360.com. When you get there, this show will be the one at the top. And, of course, you'll see the link there about Winlink. So come on in and check out the show notes. Every show we put the show notes up and the links that we talk about and whatnot here in the program. So we'll find an answer out if there's a workaround for an iOS user. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Brett. I just thought you may or may not know, because I don't know. But I hear a lot about, I don't like it because I can't use it over here. So good answers.
Yeah, and with that, I know that there are other ways that you can access the Winlink gateway. There are other software applications, and if you go to winlink.org, there might be a solution for iOS users.
Okay. Another thing that, since we're kind of talking operating systems and whatnot, this almost seems like something that one of those, when you can find them anymore. I know Jeremy got one back a couple of years ago. The low-cost Windows tablets. I would imagine that would make a pretty nice little Winlink portable system to go out with your KX2 or maybe your 817 or something portable?
Correct. I have a WinBook 7, probably similar platform that I have used in the field with my 817 to connect to various Winlink stations when I've been out in the field. So yes, that's also an option. It does not take a lot of CPU power to be able to run Winlink.
Okay, so right at that point, I know that you use FLDigi, and I use FLDigi, and it'll run. Of course, it'll run everywhere, but it doesn't take a lot of power. It's not a resource hog. Would you kind of compare the Winlink software to a light version, possibly, of FLDigi, or is it about the same?
Actually, I would say from a CPU consumption, I would say it's less than FLDigi.
Okay. Well, it's doing a lot less, too. I mean, it's a singular type of process thing, but it's a lot of fun. Now, I don't want anyone to think I've never used Winlink before, but I am not the guy when it comes to answering the questions about the operations of. We've tried to use it a few times. I can't remember if we ever actually made a connection. I know that my friend David and I here locally went peer-to-peer, and man, was that cool as I don't even know what on 40 meters. He's about 45 minutes away from me, Alpha Kilo 4 India Charlie, and that was really, really cool. I wish we would do it some more, but that was neat to be able to operate. But it's not just a NVIS thing. It's not a local thing. This can be worldwide. Sending messages to whomever through your radio from a computer. What kind of interface are you using between your computer and the radio that you're actually connected to?
Well, I have two options. Currently on my bench right now, I have the ICOM 7200, which does have a built-in sound card. But as you already mentioned, I also use FLDigi a lot. So because of that, I use a signal link. Therefore, I can use both FLDigi, Winlink at the same time. With the IC 7200 in particular, it's kind of finicky in using two different, with the rig control and sound card operations. It prefers just to have one type of digital interface up at a time. So I'm just really bypassing that right now and just using the signal link, and everything works great with that. So very minimal investment. And of course, with Winlink, you have other options besides just using Winlink to connect, Signal Link to connect with the Winlink system.
Yeah, that's one of the things I kind of wanted to bring out. I'm glad you touched on that. It's not like you have to buy a new rig. It's not like you have to have a 7200 or a 71 or 7300. Some of those may or may not have the sound card built in, the interface built in. Of course, everybody's excited they brought the 7200 back. I think I hear him cheering in the background. But a Signal Link, and I get a lot of flack about the Signal Link because people don't want to pay $100 for the Signal Link. Well, here, let me just fill you in, guys. I've got 3. I've never paid $100 for them. You can find them used, which means they've never been really used before, for about $75 on the online forums. So minimal investment, just a cable between your computer and the Signal Link, and the Signal Link and a computer or in the radio, and you're ready to go. That's all it takes, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And you can even get crazy, and if you're wanting to really get started in Winlink, it's a minimal investment. You could get a TSNX interface, and you could grab your favorite Beosux radio if you happen to have a 2-meter packet interface in your area, and you could connect up right there.
Wow. I want to talk about some of those types of options as we continue on. But I want to go back real quick to configuring the software. We've got the hardware kind of figured out on the front end. When we download the software, are we going to be just staring at the screen? Is this something that we can find some online demos to help us with to get through? Is it a big chore? Is it like setting up for Logbook of the World, or is it just a pretty simple, if you can run a ham radio, you can probably set this software up?
Well, fortunately, if you go to winlink.org, they have a tab on or a link on their website that's referred to as the Book of Knowledge. And with that, they have quite a few videos there, but also YouTube is also your friend. And there's quite a few videos online on how to configure the software. Very straightforward. You need to know your call sign and your grid square, and you are good to go.
And you can find that at qrz.com by entering your call sign, and it'll give you all the information you need about yourself if you don't know what that information is.
And that is correct.
Absolutely. All right, so let's take a break here. We'll be right back in just a second. We've got Brett Smith with us. His call is Kilo Echo 0 Echo Whiskey Yankee. I didn't mess it up. I can't believe it. It's a 0 call. I didn't get it wrong. We're just tickled to have Brett in here tonight with us, and we'll be back with him here in just a moment. You're listening to the Ham Radio 360 podcast.
Hi, Dan, KB6NU here. Whether you're studying for your tech license or looking to upgrade to general or extra, you should check out my no-nonsense amateur radio license study guides. Written in my easy-to-understand, no-nonsense style, they really are the easiest way to learn what you need to know to pass the test. And they are always up to date. The PDF version of the Technician Class Study Guide is free on my website at kb6nu.com/podcast. And all my study guides are available in print, PDF, Kindle, and EPUB versions. Let me help you have more fun with ham radio. Go to kb6nu.com/podcast and get started today.
We're back with Brett. His call is KE0EWY. And I tried to say it that way. That's actually harder than saying it phonetically. So either way, Brett, we're just totally stoked that you're here with us. Brett's a longtime listener, supporter of the program, and he's actually got one of the really cool digital camo hats with his call sign on it. I understand you dropped it in the driveway. It's the gray one, and you might have had a hard time finding it.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of that ACU pattern. It only works if you're in some kind of rock quarry.
Yeah. Now, tell us. Let's stop here for a second. I want to know a little bit about you and get into ham radio. We know that you've mentioned it. You're into the MCOM stuff. Is that why you got your license, and that's why you're kind of settled there? You're pretty happy with that?
Oh, wow. Well, like many things in life, everything is kind of a crooked road to bring you there, because no one in my life was really involved with any kind of ham radio. The closest thing I can think of is back in the late 70s, because you and I are about the same age. Mm-hmm. My dad has CB in one of his vehicles. That's about the only exposure I ever had. However, one thing, because like I said, both of us are about the same age, so you will remember in school where you had the nuclear bomb drills, and get under the desk, don't look towards the towards the windows, and cover your head.
Yep.
I remember the little movie trivia here. First PG-13 movie ever, Red Dawn.
Oh yeah.
And the people were going in, and they had to, they went into to some friends, and what the friend give them was a radio, just because they needed to find out some information.
Yeah.
That just kind of, as a young, a preteen, that just kind of left a mark. It's like, wow, that's kind of serious. Fast forward today, I am, I live in Tornado Alley, and kind of monitor Skywarn when that comes up. I am in Army Mars station, participate in that, and just really, being able to get a message out when I need to, because for several years I actually worked for a cell phone company, and one thing I can tell you is just the infrastructure, especially around cell phones, is very sensitive. And, there are times where the system is overloaded, and of course, south of me, you had the Joplin tornadoes,
right,
several years back, and infrastructure was just shut down, and just getting welfare traffic out to people to say, hey, I'm okay. I wasn't impacted, or, I'm alive, house is destroyed, whatever. That just really put an itch in me to go ahead and get licensed and just have the opportunity to be able to get a message out if I needed to.
Nice. Well, here we are, and we're talking about getting messages out. So, this software, Winlink, and you said RMS Express. What does exactly RMS Express mean? What does it do? What is it? Is it Winlink, or is it something different?
Well, what RMS Express is it's a software that allows you to interact with the overall Winlink network. And with the Winlink network, like I started to say earlier, there's kind of three aspects of RMS. One of those is where you can send an email to someone, like your mother-in-law on the AOL account. And when you send it to a particular station, what that'll do then is put it into the what's referred to as the CMS, which is the Common Message Servers. And what that means is there are 5 servers worldwide. There are 2 in the United States, one in, I want to say it's Nova Scotia, Canada, but Eastern Canada, one in Europe, which is just outside of Vienna, Austria, and one in Perth, Australia. So you can send a message to a radio station, and then they will put it in the internet, and then it'll go to one of those stations where it will then be put into the internet and go to the final destination.
That's pretty serious. And one of the questions I've always had about this is that these people who have these stations who receive this type of traffic, are they just kind of shut down for everything else on HF? Because if they're always on, which I'm assuming they are, I guess this is just their contribution to the hobby?
Absolutely. Actually, I have. We can dive in a little bit deeper later, but typically when you set up RMS Express, you will go through and determine what are 1 or 2 stations that you can connect with successfully, and then what will happen is all your mail to your email address, which is just your call at winlink.org, it'll kind of collect there, and then you can call into that station and retrieve your messages. But just as a thank you, I sent a message to the person that I often retrieve mail from. And to your point, yes, that's typically their contribution to this hobby, because when you look at, if you've ever been at field day and you have several people trying to transmit, and if you don't have some serious bandpass filters, you're just killing each other's signals if you're both transmitting at the same time. So oftentimes this this is all these people do. And you can look at Winlink once you install RMS Express, you can see the hours of operation. But yeah, so many of these individuals, their stations are up 24 hours a day just to provide this service. So yeah, that is what they do. So, as a goodwill, I just have a mark or a calendar or a mark in my calendar about every quarter just to send an email just to the person that handles my traffic just to say, hey, thank you for what you're doing.
Wow. That's a lot to ask of someone, especially if, they like HF, and apparently they probably do because they're, just burning it up with the Winlink thing. But that was a question I had, if they do this, what else can they do? So we've been talking a lot about community, and we're going to continue to talk about it because we're out doing our best to continue to build that sense of community here in the hobby and reignite it in some people. But boy, that's a giving back, and that cannot be cheap monetarily to keep stations going like that, because you got duty cycle and whatever else, but just the time and the maintenance itself, that has to be quite a chore. And hats off and thank you very much to everyone who gives back in through the Winlink system.
Oh, absolutely, especially because the station that, I'm kind of in the middle of the country. I have two stations that I typically pick up traffic from, and one of them is just based down in Houston, Texas, and that individual has a Pactor modem. So you're looking there, that individual spent, $1,800 just for a modem,
right?
Just to supply the service to the community.
That's awesome. Well, we all have things that we really like, and we're glad that person down there does.
I was just going to say, I was able to also last summer, I was camping off grid for a week, and I was still able to contact that station down outside of Houston from the Black Hills of South Dakota. So, I was able to continue on with my career because I informed my clients that, hey, if you need to contact me this week, I'm out of town. If there's an emergency, here's where to send the email, and just try to keep it small because it's going to take me a while to download it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So whether you're out living off grid, trying to get away from technology and want to check your email, or if you're out in a boat potentially, or you might just be looking for something new to do, this Winlink thing may be what you're looking for. Winlink.org is where you go to find the software, and you get on there and you're going to want to check out the Book of Knowledge, of course, because it is packed full. Again, Brett, you said that that YouTube is your friend, and I had a conversation with a non-ham friend about that earlier this afternoon, and it is, because there's some great videos on Winlink that I've actually gone to the shop in town and put on a thumb drive and brought them back home and watched them on my. That's how the country people do YouTube, guys, if you're curious, and it works, but I've got them saved, and it really did help get the software set up and get everything moving. We touched on hardware. Do we need to kind of cover any more of the hardware regarding getting Winlink ready to go in our shack?
There are several ways that you can interface with a Winlink station, because you have everything. If you go to winlink.org, they'll have a frequency chart of the stations that are out there, and you literally have everything from 160 meters all the way up to 440. So depending on how you're trying to interact, so this is open to anybody that's licensed, anywhere from a tech to an extra. If you are looking at trying to reach a local UHF, VHF station, you're looking at, besides your radio, some type of packet modem. And with that, you're looking at, a cost of $100 if you go with the TNSX packet modem that you can also build. So that might be something for the workbench program, because I've built one myself.
Cool.
Or you can buy one pre-made, or you can go with the old Cantronics TNS as well. Or if you have something like a rig like an 817, 857, something that already has a packet on there, you can just connect directly with UHF, VHF. If you're going to use the mode Winmor with that, that is software defined, so you would need the signal link, and it has pretty good speed on there, but also realize the FCC regulations that you're looking at 300 baud, so you're most likely not going to be sending large files or long emails. From there, you're also looking at what's referred to as robust packet, which is kind of a proprietary system modem by SCS out of Germany. They're the ones that also developed the Pactor modems, the Dragon Pactor, Pactor 2, 3, and 4, which 4 is not legal in the United States yet because of the band rate or the baud rate. So you're looking at an investment of around $100 on top of the equipment you already run to either get, if you're on UHF, VHF, for purchasing something like the TNS.X modem or the signal link for HF.
And again, this isn't something that has to be overly complicated. I mean, in essence, at its heart, it is packet radio, which can really confound people like it did me for years. But it is packet radio, except instead of sending a position report or maybe telemetry for a weather type service, this is actually sending. And you hit on that about a short message or, not pictures or something, because it is 300 baud, and you just don't want to. There's no need to, log jam the system or have to wait around all afternoon to get a "Hey, I'm okay" kind of an email.
Right, exactly. But then when you're also looking at VHF, UHF, I'm fortunate enough that I can hit a local VHF station. So instead of sending something at 300 baud on HF to station down Texas, I can send it at 9600 baud on VHF to a local station, and it gets sent to the same place.
You gotta love that. Now, if we want to look into that sort of thing, making the connection, have you found any resources or maybe some links there at winlink.org that give you an idea of what's going on in your local area to connect to? You said there's a frequency chart. Would you, if you were a VHF guy, would you have to know that locally, or is it found online, or do you just kind of tune to that frequency and see what you can hear?
What you do is actually from RMS Express, because assuming you put in your grid square, it'll show you which stations are closest. It'll actually also download, if you have your computer hooked up online, it'll download a propagation report to tell you which stations are most likely you can connect to on HF. But it also gives you the closest stations. And so within the actual software, if I'm running, say I have my 857 on the bench and I'm running VHF, that I can then, it'll show me all the stations in my area based on my grid square. So from there, I will determine, what station I can select to try to contact.
Now, that's pretty slick. I didn't realize that it would self-populate based on your location. So that takes a lot of the guesswork out of it and keeps it in the keep it simple, Cale, category. I'm liking it even better.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, like I said, you can go through and determine because it'll go through and use the Voice of America propagation estimate. Mm-hmm. It's built that into the RMS Express software, so it'll tell you which stations you are likely to be able to connect with. So I have, on the HF side, I have two primary stations I connect with. One during the day, which happens to be on 40 meters, and one during the night, which happens to be on 80 meters. Just because that's, just the way the bands work, that works best for me.
You mentioned a few minutes ago about Winmor, and I know that term, and I don't know why I know that term. Can you tell me a little bit about what Winmor is?
Right. Well, what you have within Winlink, you have several ways that you can actually, the different modes that you can connect to the various stations. You have the Pactor, which I talked about earlier. That is the fastest and most reliable connection that you can have. However, that to do that requires about a $1,500 investment just in the modem to be able to do it because it's proprietary. From there, you have HF Winmor, which is just a software-defined TNC that comes delivered with RMS Express. And with that, all you need is a signal link. And when you look at the speeds that you get with Winmor, that mode of operation, that really falls between the speeds of Pactor 2 and 3. So instead of a $1,500 investment, if you make a $100 investment, you'll get comparable somewhere between Pactor 2 and 3. But then you also have, as I mentioned, the VHF, UHF packet that you can either find an old Cantronics TNC off eBay, the TNS -X that I built out myself for around $100 for UHF, VHF, and that'll get you about 9,600 baud. But then there's also one more option, which is referred to as Telenet. So if you have a high-speed connection at your house, or even as we're talking onto hotspots, you can actually just send it just through Telenet, which is just, it immediately bypasses your radio and just sends a message directly through internet. So it's just like normal email.
Just like a TCP/IP connection, I guess is what somebody would maybe call that?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. I'm not really that smart. I just kind of put two and two together. You'll have to forgive me.
Not a problem.
Okay, so let's take a break here, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about getting this thing running and what we can do with it once it is running on our machine. We've got Brett with us. His call is Kilo Echo Zero Echo Whiskey Yankee, and we'll be back on the Ham Radio 360 podcast. You guys know that we're all over social media, right? I mean, Facebook is sometimes very trying, but I know a lot of you are there. No hate for that. It's just I don't have time all the time for that. I enjoy Instagram, favorite is Twitter, but the other day I saw something really cool come across Instagram. November 1, Tango Hotel Charlie set up in his yard with his brand new Kenwood TM281 and his N9TAX antenna, his portable antenna, just doing some outdoor portable operations, 2-meter FM stuff, really cool. And what kind of excites me about that is that I've got a spare TM281 now, just kind of waiting for a project. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I love those radios, man. I have a couple of them. They always perform really well. Front firing speaker, high power, easy to operate, easy to program. This just what you're looking for in a brand new 2-meter rig. Hey, if you need one of those or anything else from Kenwood, make sure you visit with our friends down at mtcradio.com. And thanks again to November 1 Tango Hotel Charlie for those great pics, man. Enjoy checking that out there on the Instagram. All right, Brett, so we have the RMS Express, Winmor, Winlink stuff installed on our computer, but now what do we do? I mean, we put our call sign in and our grid square, that's it, and then it just starts working, or what else do we have to do?
Well, once you do that, you will go through and on your RMS Express, it'll have a list of stations. It'll be a tab towards the top, and it'll tell you what's the closest one to you, or just based on HF propagation, here's one that you're most likely going to connect with. At that point, you have the option to either put in the call sign of another ham operator that you want to send the message to, or an individual that you want to send an email to, or if you really want to freak your kids out, because every cell phone has the ability to receive email. So, for instance, if you're on Verizon, it's the phone number at vtext.com. You can put that in there, and it's just like using any type of email protocol like, Outlook or Thunderbird, anything like that, and you send it, fire up the radio, it'll tell you where you need to set your dial, and it'll make the connection and send that email for you.
Okay, you just said something that really intrigued me. you said set your dial. So when you go on to the software and it determines where you are and you're looking to make a connection, it tells you what frequency to tune to?
That is correct. Each station has what's referred to as a dial frequency, but there's also a 1500 hertz offset. So you will see two frequencies on the RMS software. You'll see one that's referred to as the center frequency and one that is a dial frequency. So if you think of running FL Digi and you're meeting somebody at 1200, or in this case 1500 on the waterfall, that's 1500 hertz above the frequency that you're on. So, hypothetically, if the dial frequency was, 7,000 kilohertz, your dial frequency would be 7001.5 for the actual dial frequency. But it'll tell you where you need to actually put your radio dial, your VHO.
So the funny thing here, and guys, if this is going to confuse you, just don't listen for a second. But it's almost like an automatic offset for a VHF radio. It tells you it tells you what to do. It knows where to go.
Absolutely. Exactly. So it's kind of like the offset if you're hitting a repeater, that the repeater is at one frequency, but when you key down, you'll see a different frequency because of the offset.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so it's that smart. So not only is it smart enough to take our grid square in and know where we are and know the closest or the best places for us to get our information to, it also even tells us what to put our VFO tuned to. Now, if you have a rig-controlled radio, which I do not, but if you have one of those fancy rig-control radios, does it do that for you?
I cannot answer that because I also do not have one of those fancy rig control radios.
Okay, I've never used rig control, so I live out in the country. It's okay, y'all. If you like it, let us know. We're curious if you use rig. We could probably do a whole show on rig control because I have no idea about anything to do with it. Well, my radios are built in the 90s. I mean, we didn't have. I'm just kidding. I finished school the same year my HF rigs were made, so it's okay. Now, when we get in there and we get ready to send our message, we're following these prompts in the software. Is it just like a press send and let it go? Is there any way to monitor if the message was sent and received? Do you get like a confirmation fax back or anything?
Well, that's the beauty about RMS Express. When you're looking, if you can send the message and the other station is replying back, when it goes, it will send you a confirmation. But the beautiful part about it is it made it there 100% intact, because when you hit start, your two machines hook up and they kind of perform a HF handshake, and they exchange data back and forth. And if for some reason, and without getting too technical, the receiving station sends a checksum saying, here's, based on the data that you just sent me, this is what I received. Is that what you sent? And if your station says, yes, that's what I received, it'll send the next batch of data. However, if those checksum numbers do not match up, it'll repeat back and say, no, here's what I sent. So that's the great part about it. It's 100%. It's not like where you're sending something in FL Digi and you choose your mode, right, where you're sending something and suddenly there's some kind of band disruption and you drop out 10 characters, and you can kind of read between the lines and see what the individual was saying, or maybe you just lost everything. With this, it's either all there or it's not there at all.
That's awesome. And okay, let's say if it can't connect, it'll come back and say unable to connect, or will it put it in a queue to try again later, or is that just a software setting, either one of those choices?
If it does not connect, because you will hear an audible response, or you'll see it in the in the waterfall that's provided with RMS Express. You'll see the other station replying back. If it doesn't, if for some reason if it doesn't connect, the message stays in your outbox until you try to connect again later, or you go find another station where possibly you can send that message.
Okay, you said outbox, and everyone's familiar with that, especially for the old AOL dial-up guys. Is that something? This, without looking at it, does this feel like Thunderbird or maybe the old school email that we used to have back in the early to mid 90s? We know it's email over RF, but does the interface feel like that?
Absolutely. You have your inbox, your outbox, your sent items. Everything is there, and that's so it really just looks like an email client.
And that's what's so funny, because nowadays, even on these hotspots, when you press send, you know it's gone. Unless it's a big PDF or something, it might take a minute or two. But we never have to go look in our outboxes anymore. I remember having to look at an outbox. And, maybe that's some of the charm that's attracting me to this Winlink thing, is to kind of go back, a throwback, if you will, back to the early computing days of the late 1990s. That's pretty cool, man. And I'm assuming this, but I'm guessing that's about the same time maybe this type of communications between radios in this form was founded.
From my understanding, I believe that this has been around since the late 90s, and it's really just kind of come around with some advent technology where they made sure that there was a mesh network that kind of put the internet out of the equation, that if you needed to send a message, that you could just do it from these various stations, radio by radio. So with Winlink, with them being able to communicate everything radio by radio, it's actually a Department of Defense authorized now. Army Mars, or any Mars, really, Air Force Mars, can utilize the system because they took out the internet equation if for some reason the internet was not there. So with it being completely a mesh network, the ability to send a message from point A to point B, even though it goes through 3 or 4 stations, it's an incredible system.
How you spoke of robust packet, not trying to talk about robust packet, but how robust is Winlink in getting the message to where it goes? I'm assuming you're going to say if the initial receiving station can hear it, it's going to get to where it needs to go. But are there enough stations around for people with say just a basic HF with an 80 or 40 meter antenna in their yard? Can they connect with these things easily?
Absolutely. You should be able to connect. You'll find hundreds of stations across the United States, especially on the coast, because a lot of the traffic that's passed is more maritime, because you have sailors out, be it recreational or cargo, that are even looking for weather reports, which that's another aspect of RMS Express that we can talk about, is what additional information it can give you. So there's a lot of ship to shore traffic, but you have stations all over, just even in my area. Typically you will find the Pactor stations along the coast, but I even have one here in the middle of Missouri. I kind of scratch my head, because typically when you look at Pactor, that's usually sea-going vessels, but for some reason this particular station in the middle of Missouri decided they wanted to offer that service as well. So salute to them. Perhaps bands are going along and they're getting traffic from, it could be Great Lakes or maybe something along the Mississippi or something like that. I'm not sure.
I'm curious. And we talk about this a lot with the advent of technology, smartphones, PCs in our pockets. Is this a system that is just a couple of geeky guys around the U.S. that use it, not counting the maritime stuff, but just your typical hams, is this something they like to play with, or is it something that people are, besides the ones hosting the nodes there, or is this something that people are serious about and they utilize it a lot, like an everyday kind of a thing?
Well, I think a lot of people do use it every day. When you look at RMS Express, they have some additional built-in forms that you can use. So it's tailored for emergency communications like ARIES, RACIS, MARS, shares. They have built-in forms that they typically use, for instance, like on FL Digi. So instead of just sending something over FL message with those forms, they utilize RMS Express, but it also has some real world application as well, especially in Incom. But even like myself, I mentioned earlier that last summer I was up in the Black Hills, South Dakota, Wyoming region. There was one spot at the particular campground that we were at that when you walked up there, you could send a text about 50% of the time. So as an IT guy myself, I enjoyed that because I wasn't being bombarded. I was able to get away from that aspect of technology. But at the same time, I was able to, we can't even see what the weather is going to be like tomorrow. I was able to receive weather reports via RMS Express for our area for the next day so we could somewhat plan our activities.
Now, that is really cool because I'm a weather. Is it just inherently for ham radio guys to be interested in the weather? I don't know. It's springtime, so right now everybody is interested in the weather. Was it like a weather fax or something you were receiving? How? I mean, it wasn't a radar, a live radar shot? Was it just a forecast somewhere you knew where to go and ask for this, or is it something that just is populated and people can pull it down when they're interested?
It's actually within. It's a forecast, and it's based on, depending on your area, your geographic region. Sometimes they'll have something for an entire state. Sometimes they'll lump several states together. But that is a requested. You can go into RMS Express and request to get an update about that particular region. And so with that, it'll populate that request in your outbox. You'll send it to an RMS station, wait about 5 minutes, contact another station or the same station you just did, and you will get back the reply. So you'll get back a weather forecast.
It just comes in a short form email.
That is correct.
I didn't realize that. That's really awesome. Are there other things like that you can do with RMS Express Winlink that I haven't even considered asking you about?
You can receive, again, original intent or original audience was more maritime, so you can get tidal charts for specific areas, hurricane alerts. I'm trying to think of other things. Solar flare information, so HF propagation reports. Mm-hmm. Just there's a lot of information on there that you could receive. But again, I will stress, remember, you're running at 300 baud, so you might want to keep your request at a minimum, unless you're running on some kind of good battery system.
Yeah. So let's say we're set up at a campground with full utilities, and we're just kind of interested in what we can hear because we're bored, right? And is there a particular way you make that request? You said you put it in your outbox. I mean, how do we know what to put in our outbox to have that sent back to us?
Within RMS Express, there is a capacity to you're making a query of their overall system, and on there it'll say what kind of report are you looking for. Are you looking at HF propagation reports? Are you looking for weather for certain areas? Are you looking for tidal charts? It'll spell out what exactly you're looking for.
Now, see, that's the kind of stuff I love, Brett, because it's doing it the hard way, but it feels like you've done something when you've done it the hard way. I like that. That sounds really, really cool to me.
Well, it was nice because, like I said, in that particular, camping adventure, I'm working there with a couple SLA batteries, a solar panel, and my 857 with my laptop, signal link, all that good stuff, got a antenna up into the air, and 10 minutes later I'm communicating and finding out what's going on, what information we need to know just based on our family outing up there.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I had no idea it could do that as well. I know that I guess let's say that you had a buddy that was at home and knew that you were on vacation. He could also be sending stuff to you if there was a pending forest fire or severe weather possibility like we just lived through this last week. You're out in the middle of nowhere. There's a very good chance that you could have a friend that say, hey, I know that Brett's out there. Let me send him this message via email to kind of give you a heads up. That would be any time that you logged into the system, your mail would be waiting on you, I'm assuming. So as often as you came into the system would be as often as you got your messages retrieved.
Absolutely, but then there's that other option, which happened several times while I was up there. Friends knew that I was out there, and I was able to actually just bypass the entire Winlink system and just connect directly to their radio, bypass all infrastructure, send an email directly from my PC via my radio to their PC via their radio.
And that's what I want to talk about in our next segment. We're chatting with Brett Smith. That's the really cool thing that I'm so glad we got to. His call is Kilo Echo Zero Echo Whiskey Yankee. We're talking Winlink from winlink.org. That didn't want to come out. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to the Ham Radio 360 podcast. Springtime sale happening at elecraft.com/specials. Check them out to save on all of their rigs. Even shipping a free mic with the brand new KX2 or KX3. Free UPS ground shipping as well to the U.S. on all April specials. Again, remember, elecraft.com/specials. All right, so we teased right there at the end of the last segment about going peer-to-peer, bypassing all infrastructure, which is really, if you're out there thinking some serious in-comm communications, emergency communications, this is the bread and butter for you right here. So, Brett, you said you were camping out in the middle of nowhere, no cell signals to speak of at all. And you had your I guess you were dry camping. You said you were running SLA batteries, so you were full-blown dry camping, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I was. Actually, the funny thing was I had a little car emergency, and I had to actually run over to Rapid City, and that's where I got a text from you back then. We texted a little bit when I actually had cell phone reception.
Yeah.
So I was down in the big city of the area and actually had cell phone coverage. But, yeah, for the most part, when I was up where we were at, there was no cell coverage whatsoever. And so through that, I made several connections with friends that knew I was going to be up there, and we just connected directly and just bypassed all infrastructure.
Now, how does that work? I mean, do you tell Winlink that, or RMS Express through Winlink that, hey, I want to go peer-to-peer, I don't want to go through any of the networks? Is there a specific place or way to tell it you want to do that?
Yes, there is. When you're looking at the way you want to connect, it'll say, sadly, I don't have it up in front of me.
Sorry.
But it's whether you're wanting to connect via packet, Pactor, robust packet, Winmor. But then as you go further down, you'll see, okay, packet, it'll be P2P, or Pactor, P2P, or Winmor, P2P, so peer-to-peer. There's also radio only, which I already described, where that message will only be delivered via radio.
Right.
We'll never touch the internet as well. So, yeah, in this particular situation, what we did is we had designated a handful of frequencies. So our radios were on the same frequency. And I would select Winmor peer-to-peer or P2P. And with that, I would put in the person's call sign of who I was trying to contact, already having an email for them in the outbox. And I would just start that connection, and the two radios make a handshake and send that message on along without ever touching any other infrastructure.
Now, we don't do any encryption at all on amateur radio. If someone were on the same frequency and knew that was a Winmor email from RMS Express, Winlink, could they at the same time get that message down, or would they have to be that particular station that you're calling, that you entered their call sign in to get that message?
Exactly. If you would have to know the person's call sign to be able to get that. Otherwise, you'll just see the traffic going across, and you'll see that there is some type of Winmor connection going on. But you're unlike where FL Digi, where you can go over to 14070, or everybody kind of hides out for PSK, right, and you can see everybody's traffic. With Winmor, you can't do that.
Okay, well that's really cool, because I mean, it's not that you're passing anything you don't want somebody that it matters, but it's a curious object there that you can do that. And when you say peer-to-peer, I mean, that literally means you and the receiving end are on the same frequency, and they're going to be the ones that get the email you sent. I mean, which it only makes sense because it takes so much time to move it over 300 baud. It's not like everybody wants to see it anyway.
Oh, exactly. And most of the time it's, in my case, it's, hey, made it to our destination. Everything's going great. Great time with the family. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, cool stuff. Now, what little experience I have with Winlink and RMS Express is this right here. Exactly what Brett just described, and that is my friend David, who lives about 45 minutes north of me at the northernmost point of the upstate of South Carolina in Spartanburg County. He and I connected via RMS Express peer-to-peer on 40 meters, and it was like a very slow instant message from American Online way back in the day, but it was the handshaking of the computers there. We were on the same frequency. Of course, we were coordinating with either Zello or text, I can't remember, but we were chatting back and forth away from the radio, but using our rigs and our PCs here in each of our shacks to make that connection, and it was really stinking cool. And it was NVIS on top of everything else, which made it even better.
Yeah, it's really fun if you have several friends spread throughout the country like I do, and we just have a handful of designated frequencies, and weather permitting, we'll just kind of leave our stations up, and everybody knows it, and so you'll just be kind of walking by the shack, and you'll see suddenly your radio is transmitting, and you're not in there because someone's hooked up with you with RMS Express. So it's first couple times, it'll kind of take you by surprise, right, but it is really, really cool technology.
And is it the same checksum means of operating, whereas your message won't go through unless your entire message kind of goes through it and makes sure it gets all the way through, even with the peer-to-peer, like it is with the going through the different nodes and whatnot through the regular system?
Yes, that's correct. That's again, the beauty of RMS Express, in this case Winmor, in the particular example we're talking about, it either all goes through or nothing goes through.
Nice. And I could see a very valid use for this with emergency communications from an EOC out to someone in a disaffected area to be able to push traffic around. If you had made those connections, and excuse the pun, previously or before you had any troubles, which comes back to what we're always talking about, and that is doing what we've been licensed to do.
Right, and it's not just even when you're talking about those disaster situations. Let's take Katrina. That's a great example. Infrastructure was just wiped out down in New Orleans, and ham radio operators got down there, and what they were doing was going through and sending email welfare traffic to family members, mm-hmm, and letting them know that this person's okay, because they couldn't send out a text message or an email because the infrastructure was wiped out in New Orleans, but they could communicate with a RMS station that was outside of the affected area, where that message would then be put into the internet and go to the family member, friends, whoever of the affected person.
Okay, so as a newly appointed assistant EC for our local Aries group, this, just as importantly as the Arden project and packet radio, APRS, this is something that a large majority of the audience who is involved in Aries, they're probably already there in their local area. I could see so much potential for this to help out in Aries, in races, even in your local club, working to complement the local communications scene. I mean, this is really something we probably should all be participating with to some level. At least know how to use it if you have to, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and if you're familiar with FL Message, where they already have a lot of the Aries and Races forums that they utilize in those organizations, there are a lot of those same forms within RMS Express that you can fill out. And what actually gets sent is not the actual form, but it's just the XML from, trying to get too technical, but the XML is what it sends. And when the receiving station opens up, it'll pop up their web browser and it'll have all that data populated in the proper form.
That's awesome. And that's all built into the RMS Express software. Nothing we have to go pull out or make fun templates in any of those crazy Microsoft Office softwares.
Exactly. Yeah, it comes delivered with that, within your download.
Excellent. And it's winlink.org, and what's working right now for you and what I've used and installed here in the shack is the RMS Express through Winmor. And it's really neat stuff. I tell you, man, David and I, we eventually got on the telephone while we were still messaging each other peer-to-peer, and we were just like little kids, so excited we were doing this thing just because of the fact we were doing it. So if you're listening and you've got an HF rig or maybe a VHF rig, you can do the same thing. And you've got somebody close enough if you're VHF or somebody far enough away if you're on HF to do some NVIS work. This is something I want to encourage you to try, because what little time I've spent with it, and guys, it's been just a little time. I'm talking, maybe a couple of Saturday afternoons, and then to get it finally working, just because Cale's a little slower than the average bear. It's a blast. It's a load of fun. And Brett, I know that you're all in, man. I mean, this is like your thing when it comes to ham radio.
Yeah, I definitely, this just being part of the digital package that I kind of find myself more involved with, because again, going back to the camping trip, I realized that, it takes a lot of power to send out 100-watt voice communication, and it doesn't take a lot of power to send out 5 watts on digital.
Right. Yeah, and like going all the way back to the old days, it's the digital mode of. The digital mode is the choice of the low power guys. So whether it's Morse or something out of FL Digi with one of those modes, or even this Winlink thing, it's a great way to communicate with a very low power, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of bandwidth either. So it's not too bad for the guys that are out there sharing frequencies.
Oh, absolutely. It's, ever since that trip, I've really looked at power consumption and just realizing how costly it is to, key the mic as opposed to hit enter on the keyboard.
Any words of wisdom you can leave us with, maybe even things we haven't covered yet about this software, maybe something I forgot to ask. Before we go, is there something we might have missed, or is there anything that you've learned from your personal experiences that everybody either wants to know or needs to know?
Well, I think it's just more on what I've just discovered on the kind of go with what we were just talking about on power consumption. I remember on your last show when you were talking with Josh and you were just talking about how the bands have just been kind of trashed lately. And, they have been for for voice, but at the same time, I'm here, I'm in flyover country, and same time that you're talking about the bands being trash, and I can sit there and send a 5-watt transmission peer-to-peer to my friend Randy in West Virginia, or my friend Kathy up in Oregon, on 10 watts. It's amazing when you look at the digital side, just how much less power it takes, and digital just seems to cut through even when the bands are bad.
Right.
And I'm not just talking about RMS overall, just overall any type of digital communication. It seems to cut through.
And guys, if you're not involved in digital, or you don't really, you're not there yet, it's okay. It's not as complicated as it may sound if you're new to this. It's really a very small investment to get going. You just need a small laptop. It don't even have to be. I mean, you can run an XP machine. We're not talking about a Windows 10 machine here. We're talking about very little horsepower under the hood for the computer, a connection between the computer, software type interface to go, or a hardware interface to go between the computer and the radio, and you're up on here and using digital modes. We've been focusing on the RMS Express Winmor Winlink system, but there's a lot of them out there. And if that's something you might not have tried yet, it's like Brett says, they'll work when a lot of other things won't, and they're really pretty stinking fun too.
Absolutely, and it's a lot easier when compared to voice, where you're catching every third word of the person you're speaking with, as opposed to being able to just read out on the screen everything the person is typing.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do is, again, I'm going to shift you back over to the website, hamradio360.com. They'll have in the show notes there, I'm pretty sure that Julian, the Survival Tech Nord, does some stuff with Winlink or some type. I know he does a lot of FL Digi, but I am positive that the comms prepper guy, and I can't remember his name, I just know him by his YouTube screen name because I've downloaded some of his Winlink videos. He does a lot with Winlink, or has done some videos in the past with Winlink. So those are always interesting, and of course we'll have those linked in our show notes.
Oh yeah, Hank is a good guy.
There it is. It wouldn't come out, but I knew it. So yeah, it does a lot of great videos.
Once again, 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah, there you go. And that's Cale downloading the videos when he's at the shop and bringing them home and watching them. And I'm going to just go ahead and say this out loud just for what it's worth. Don't let Survival Tech Nord or Comms Prepper mess you up. These guys are making some top-notch videos for you and the hobby. You need to be taking advantage of what they're putting out there. So if you're interested in some of this, there's a lot of resources. We'll pool as many as we can and put those in the show notes for you to be able to kind of maybe get a better understanding, or actually see. A lot of people learn by seeing, so to give you some visual representations as well. Brett, man, thank you very much for burning your bandwidth here with us on this call. Again, thank you again and again and again for the support of the show and being here with us. Man, it's just been a great time to have you here helping us learn about this Winlink thing. I know that Wayne's going to be happy. Wayne, this show's for you, man, so thank you for listening. And that's K4SPA, by the way. And just, again, I can't say thank you enough for all you've done for the show on and off the air, and being here with us to share your knowledge about this particular topic.
Hey, that's not a problem at all. Thanks for, like I said at the beginning, just thanks for, having me on. It's a good excuse for the two of us to catch up. Yeah. And if anybody, has any questions for me, just send them to, my call at winlink.org. I'd be happy to help out anybody any way I can.
I like how you put that in there. That was good. Utilize the system to contact me about the system.
Absolutely.
That was slick, man. I didn't even think about that. Okay. I'm the world's worst procrastinator, and I've got to get my stuff plugged back in because it's almost field day, so I can unplug it and take it back to field day. But thank you. Maybe we'll catch up on Winlink here pretty soon. How about staying on me so I'll have an excuse, not to make an excuse, to communicate with you? How's that?
Hey, that sounds great. We'll make it happen.
Okay, my friend. Kilo Echo Zero Echo Whiskey Yankee. Brett Smith, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, 73, and God bless.
Well, thank you for coming by, spending this time with us. We're really excited to have had you here. Hope you come back if this was your first time. Maybe you want to subscribe so you don't have to worry about when it happens again. Actually, we do this every Tuesday, but, we'll take a subscription here and there as well. Hey, don't forget you can review our show on your favorite podcast player, but if you're going to do anything, just let us know you like the show by sharing it with your buddies. Maybe you've got someone that you work with or that is kind of interested in ham radio. We got some great shows for that. Click the Start Here tab. It's all there, hamradio360.com. That's the easiest thing to do. You can do everything there. You can subscribe. You can catch up with us on social media. Check out our back catalog. Look at the workbench and get involved in the forums, whatever. It's all there, hamradio360.com. I'm going to go. Thank you again for listening. Appreciate you being here. And hope we can do it again really soon. God bless every one of you in 73, y'all.
Thank you for listening to the Ham Radio 360 podcast, brought to you by Main Trading Company, Paris, Texas, and by Elecraft.com, hands-on ham radio. To learn more about the show, visit our website, hamradio360.com. 73s, y'all.
Hello? What are you doing here? You didn't even turn the lights on. Here, let me get that. What's happening? Why are you like me, stuck on the lawnmower and you can't change to go to a different episode or something? You're not in the Twilight Zone. I actually stuck this at the end of the show. If you've waited this long, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is just a little time I thought I would toss here at the end of the show that I didn't put it in the program. But if you're still here, man, you're freaking awesome. So thank you. Or ma'am. I say man a lot, but it's gender neutral. Okay. Yeah. Stop, Cale. All right. So on the Facebook group earlier, I think it was last week, Wendy, who is a member of our Facebook group, passed her exam. Now, Wendy's last name has more letters in it than George's does, so I'm not even going to attempt that, okay? But I do know that she lives in Canada, which is really cool, and her test is different, than ours. So congratulations to Wendy. We can't wait to get your call, figure out what's, however they do that up there. I think it's going to be Victor Echo 3, but I'm not sure. In addition to Wendy passing her test, of course, I don't have everybody that passed her test, and that's not really what this is intended to be, but I wanted to bring that out. So congratulations, Wendy. I did have some contact with some of you. I've heard a lot from you guys listening to the show who have found the other show, Modern Christian Men, and like it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing as well with your friends who may be interested. And additionally, I got emails from people that were all stoked about Josh and the giveaway there from our genuine, I can't even talk. Thank goodness this isn't the regular program. Our generous listener who helped fund that. We've got some funds now in a savings account for a additional new ham that we are going to be looking towards helping with some new gear. I just want to kind of give some names and calls here from people I've talked to via email. I'm really still into email. I mean, I love Twitter. It's a lot of fun, but I can't keep up. It's so fast, right? And Facebook is just kind of overwhelming sometimes. Launching this new show too is kind of, everything just kind of runs together. So I went back through my email list because that's the most sacred and easiest, I guess, for me to connect to and understand, and found these. I want to say thank you very much for connecting with me over the last 2 weeks or so to let me know what was going on with you. And thank you for doing that, because I love hearing from you guys. When I say it during the show, right? I'm like, oh man, we love hearing from you. It's the truth. I'm just not making it up. I mean, those little voicemails that you do when you click the speak pipe button on the webpage, totally love them. Yeah. So thank you. Whether you email, speak pipe, tweet, Facebook, IM, all of those things. I will tell you this. I'm not a Facebook Messenger user, so I only connect to the Messenger thing on my computer. So if you message me, I'm not going to get right back to you unless I'm standing in front of the PC. It's not that I don't like you. I get email on my phone, but I'm not doing the Facebook instant messaging. Don't ask why. It's none of your business. I just don't want to. There you go. So Sean, Kilo, Charlie 2, Lima, Whiskey, X-Ray. Nice to hear from you, man. Randall from up the road here. November 4, Juliet, Romeo, Papa. Steve, Alpha Delta 0, Juliet, Juliet. Nice call and appreciate the email. Brian, Whiskey 4, BRY. Thank you. Steve, who is scheduled to come on the show here with us pretty soon. His call is Whiskey 7, Victor, Oscar, Alpha. Yes, that is VOA. And that's going to be an interesting call. Looking forward to that one. Chris, Kilo Delta 4, Peanut Butter Jelly. You've probably only heard that 40 or 50 times in the last 30 days. Chris's call is KD4, Papa Bravo Juliet. And Andre, KG5KRT. That's the list I could come up with. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm really happy that you like the show. Thank you for being a part of what we're doing, and looking forward to keeping this ball rolling. That's it. That's all I got to say. You don't want to do I got this new board, and it's got these effects here. It goes, there it is. I'm going to go now. Yeah, sorry. It's just a new toy, and very grateful to have it. God bless you, every one of you. I really, really dig you, and thank you for listening. I'm waving. I don't know why, because you can't see it. It's audio only, Cale. We'll catch you next time. 73.